Good morning, friends. There's so much in the context of therapy and mental health and what we can do to improve. And one of the things that I have learned over the years is the concept, there's a lot in the 12 steps about resentments. And there's a quote that's well known in the rooms about expectations are planting the seeds of resentments. And one of the things that I noticed when I was working with a lot of clients struggling with addiction was that there was a tendency for there to be expectations, but they weren't realistic based on the patterns that were existing. And so paying attention to what expectations do we have of ourselves and of other people that then builds resentment. So if I expect something of someone that doesn't match anything they've ever done before, then am I setting them up, and am I set to disappoint me and setting myself up for a resentment? And so paying attention to what people are doing and how we're feeling in those moments. I remember I had a friend once, and she spontaneously moved to Alabama and was one of those really dynamic, fantastic energy people that you just wanted to be friends with. And she was really just a fantastic person. Still is, I'm sure. But one thing I started noticing was that she was very much happy to call me, to reach out, to talk to me when she was struggling. And this was way before I was a therapist. I was just a person who happened to have a therapist personality at the time. And we were friends, and I really enjoyed her. And then she moved away, and then she moved back. Very spontaneous. Some would say flaky, flighty. And then when I was in grad school, I went to visit her when she lived in Texas, and we had a good visit. And I started noticing, though, as I was doing my own work, that she was someone that would lean on me for support, but I didn't really feel like she could or would lean on me or let me lean on her. And so I just started paying attention when I was having a bad day. Was she someone I felt safe to reach out to, or someone that would have time for me? And I started just observing those dynamics. And then when I moved to Utah, I was like, she lived in Utah, and so I said, hey, I'd love to see you, I'd love to catch up. And she said, great, I need a ride to the airport. And I realized after many years of being friends with her that I was her friend, but she wasn't mine. And that was the last time we had an interaction, is when I took her to the airport, and we haven't spoken since. And paying attention to, sometimes there are people that we expect them to be something that they've never been. Now, I had to open my eyes and realize she's actually never been someone that I would reach out to, or that would anytime I would reach out, she would make it about her. She wasn't able to hold space for what I was processing through. She wasn't able to be that person for me. And so recognizing that sometimes we need to learn to never expect someone to be someone they've never been before. So if I have a friend who is chronically late, do I expect them to be on time and build a resentment? Or do I do something else? Do I plan it earlier? Do I give them a different time? Do I have some flexibility and grace for them? And also the gift of not having expectations, at least ones that aren't communicated, the gift of that is that we then are less likely to be frustrated, irritated, and also less likely to take things personally. One of my friends, former coworkers, we texted a couple weeks ago and had talked about going to lunch, and she said, oh, I'll check my schedule. And, I'm doing what I'm doing professionally and trying to network and connect and do my job and lots of things. And she texted me and said, hey, so sorry I didn't get back to you. I got super sick. Like, cool, no big deal. When you're ready, I know you're busy. But if I had an expectation that she texts me back within 2 days, and then we'd have a plan, and then we'd have lunch, and then it would be this great thing that healed all the things that I was having a hard time with, then that's so much pressure to put on her and to not communicate to her. And so the other piece is being able to recognize, if I have an expectation, how do I communicate it? And how do I know what aligns for me in that? So when we're talking about never expect someone to be someone they've never been for, that doesn't mean you can't have expectations. But you have to be able to ask and say, hey, I would really like to be able to do this, or have this chat, or have lunch, or whatever. And they can say, great, I can make that work. Or they can say, hey, I can't make that work. But when we have an expectation and we don't communicate it, then we're the ones building the resentment. And so a lot of times we put that on other people. Oh, they're so annoying. Oh, they're letting me down. Oh, they're not there for me. Again, it goes back to, is it about capacity or willingness? Because I might want someone to show up for me in a certain way, but their dad just died, or something just happened that they could not be there for you or me. And so checking those expectations, and what do we do to manage those and to communicate them, to allow someone to tell us, yeah, that's not something I can do this time, but maybe next time. So I hope you're beginning to be able to check your expectations for others so that you can be able to have healthier relationships. Have a good week.